Sometimes when you're co-parenting, the kids come back to your place and they're dysregulated. They're out of sorts. They're not the way you want them to be, and they're certainly not the way that they were when you dropped them off at your ex's place. Today, what to do when your child is dysregulated when they come home from being with their other parent. G'day, welcome to the Happy Families podcast. It's real parenting solutions every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson, and every Tuesday on the pod, we answer the tricky questions that you've got about raising your kids, family stuff, relationship stuff, well-being, screens, discipline, co-parenting. If you would like to submit a tricky question, we have a really super simple system at happyfamilies.com.au. You just scroll down to podcasts, click the record button, and start talking like an anonymous person who chose not to record but sent us an email instead via podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au. From Anonymous, how can I help my 4-year-old grandson? He lives with us and has fortnightly weekend visitation with his father. When he comes home, he is so dysregulated. Tantrums are next level for hours after getting home. I'm looking for tips to help ease these feelings. Note, this behaviour is only concerned after the visitation because of the severity of the behaviour. Please help. So today, let's uncover 3 things. First off, what's going on behind the behaviour? Number 2, how can we create a supportive transition environment? And number 3, how do we build emotional bridges between homes? Kylie, you and I have had a philosophy around tantrums for as long as we've had children, and it's a pretty simple one.
Tantrums aren't bad behaviour. They're actually an opportunity for our kids to communicate to us. They just don't have the skills to sit down and go, hey, Mum, I'm having a really hard time right now.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a meltdown because they are struggling so much with their world.
4-year-olds, when their emotions are high, don't tend to say, could we have a minute and just talk? Because there's a handful of things going through my mind that I really need to walk through with you and problem solve. They just don't go there. High emotions, low intelligence. I think it was one of our listeners, Jess, who emailed us and said, you can't think straight in a high emotion state.
Yeah.
It's true for us. It's definitely true for our children. And so we call this distress during the transition, literally transition distress. That is moving between environments. It's a normal response because I am moving into an environment that's different to the one that I'm in, and I don't have the emotion and behavior regulation, nor do I have the words to explain what's going on. And so I behave in a dysregulated way. Transition distress.
I was actually having this exact conversation with a beautiful friend of mine recently, and she's in exactly the same situation. And her 5-year-old came home and she said it's literally like the light in his eyes have gone out. He's not the child that I sent off to his dad. He comes home and he's just a completely different kid. And so I think one of the most important things that we can do in that space is to literally take away all expectations in this moment.
Yeah. I want to talk about that as part of our transition toolkit. Let me wrap up this 5-year-old or this 4-year-old, depending on whether it's your story or the one from this grandma, this situation. Essentially, when a child comes home and then they have that meltdown and they're going through this transition, there's distress around the transition, but then they release all their emotions because now they're in a space that feels safe to them and they know that they're allowed to let it out. Sometimes you hear about autistic kids who come home and then they take the mask off and they just lose it because they've been trying so hard to keep it together while they've been at school or something like that. And so this is the challenge that we face, right? We've got this tantrum that's actually a stress response, and paradoxically it's a sign of trust. And it's a predictable pattern. Like, we kind of know it's going to happen. Pressure builds during the transition, then it releases when your child feels safe. And in this situation, there's often a lot of accusation. I just want to highlight this. We don't know, and I want to be really sensitive here. We don't know what's going on, don't know what's happening at dad's. Dad might actually be doing a great job, but the child's simply distressed because of the transition. Dad could be doing a terrible job, which is promoting the transition distress. What we know with little kids is that there is a transition storm, and it's going to be a potential challenge regardless of what's going on in one context or the other.
The reality is, for children, especially young children, they need consistency.
Totally.
Consistency in routine, consistency in environment, consistency in caregiver. Like, that makes such a difference to their sense of well-being and security. So like you've acknowledged, it doesn't actually matter whether what's happening at dad's house is great or bad. The outcome will often be the same because there's a change. And that's literally what we're experiencing. There is a change in the environment. There's a change in the caregiver. And now your 4-year-old, in his limited life experience, has to recalibrate. And that's what we're dealing with right now. It's a recalibration.
Yeah, so after the break, the transition toolkit, we have 4 ideas for you there, as well as how you can build some effective communication bridges, I guess, between your child and the transition challenges that you're facing. Okay, Kylie, a transition toolkit for a child who's struggling with moving from one environment to another in a co-parenting situation. 4 things from me. You might want to add a couple of things around the edges of this, but they're fairly simple and quite self-explanatory. Number 1, you want to create a soft landing after pickup. That's what you were hinting at before. Keep things really, really smooth. Expect the storm. Plan accordingly. Keep those first few hours really quiet, low stimulation. Avoid errands and extracurricular activities, social gatherings immediately after the pickup. Just keep it low key. Second thing, have some consistent connection rituals. So every time he comes home to you, have that special book, maybe it's a photo album, have that snack, have that quiet activity, the thing that you're reading together, something predictable that signals we're back together. The third thing, focus on regulation before you step into any big conversations or anything. So hugs, gentle physical comfort, so long as he's okay with that. Calm, easy speaking to help reset his nervous system, maybe even doing some box breathing or some general meditation or body scans, that kind of thing, just to focus on being calm before you're getting into things.
I want to counter you on this because I love the calm thing and I think that it's really important. But for some kids, I actually think they need to let out the pent-up energy that they're experiencing. Mm-hmm. And the other day I saw this reel and it just resonated with me beautifully because I think it's something that Emily would have responded to so well a few years ago. When her son comes home from school, they play this game and she's got socks on, they're on the floorboards, and he gets to push against her hands as hard as he can and he's got to try and move her across the floor to a certain point. And he's using all of his body strength. Mum, wearing socks, obviously is going to let him win. But in the process of doing that, he actually gets out a whole heap of pent-up energy through that process, and then they roll over and have a big laugh together.
Okay, so I've got thoughts on this. Two different thoughts. First of all, if it works for you, that's great, wonderful, fantastic. Second thought, there is quite a bit of research that shows that this idea of using aggression to get it out can also backfire. That it can become a thing where it can become aggressive and it can become unhelpful as well. So I'm going to say maybe not. Certainly looks like fun on Instagram. In real life, it might work, but it could also backfire. Either way, what we're really emphasizing here is soft landings, consistency and predictability, and generally some form of regulation. Now, that regulation might come through physical activity. It may come through deep breathing and gentleness. Either way, we're doing something before we step into conversations. And if the emotions are really big, my fourth idea is just validate those emotions, but don't endorse the behaviors. So I get that you're having really big feelings right now, or it's okay to feel upset. Sometimes when we move from one place to another, we feel upset. You're setting really clear boundaries, but you're accepting the feelings. That validation is really important. They're the main things that I would suggest are going to be useful. I think we've also got to be better at our communication, though. Like if we can create effective communication with our 4-year-old or our 5-year-old, we're going to find that they're better able to regulate themselves because it all makes sense. So you could just put a calendar on the wall and highlight when the visits are happening. So there's a countdown system for younger kids. You can have transitional objects. So there's that one toy that goes from this house to that house, and it's the one thing that they always have that keeps them feeling good. Or a photo album with both households involved in the photo album to make it all feel a bit more seamless.
Maybe whenever there's a pickup or a transition, there's a favourite snack.
Yeah, or a quick outing. Let's go and get that hot chocolate, the baby chino, whatever it is that you love to do. Those kinds of things just promote that routine, that sense of safety, that predictability. There's a special something about it, so it feels like it's a bit of a treat. Those are the kinds of things that are going to be really, really, really helpful.
But I think the main thing about this is recognizing that your child is having big emotions, and that's actually okay.
Yes, yeah, especially for such a complex situation. You would expect complex emotional experiences.
And so allowing your children to work through those emotions in a safe space is actually a beautiful gift that you can give them.
Okay. I want to talk just briefly about the communication between households. This is always going to be awkward. It can be really tricky, especially if there's any disharmony in the relationship, and often there's some acrimony. So what I would encourage would be a couple of things. Number one, I'd just be saying, hey, how are you finding it? Like, are you finding dysregulation when we drop off to you? Because we're getting a bit when it's coming back our way. We just want to know how that's going and what we can do to make things better in both directions. I would be encouraging consistent bedtimes, consistent meal times, consistent dietary expectations. Like if we've got a Disneyland dad who's filling the kid up on sugar and ice cream and soft drinks and fast food and all that kind of thing, and then we're trying to eat healthy, then there's going to be some challenges around that. And I think that both households, just you said it at the start and you said it so well, the tantrum is a signal that we've got a child who is processing a whole lot of complexity. But there is communication here. The tantrum is an indicator that we've got a child experiencing challenge.
So I guess if we were to wrap this all up, the most important gift we can give our kids is a consistent, compassionate response.
Yeah, I would
then creating some perfect strategy.
Perfect. I was going to say that, yeah. Like we can get all caught up in I've got to do this and this and this and this and this. But so long as your child feels loved and gets that compassion, I think that's going to be the most important thing. The other stuff matters, but not as important as your response to the child.
The second thing is helping them through these transitions. You're actually teaching them some really important skills in their emotional regulation.
Right. So the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more that child will learn how to regulate, if you can be regulated yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things we do in our home often is I use essential oils. And without having to teach them anything, just purely putting the oils on their body, they instantly take a deep breath and they regulate themselves in that process.
Okay. So ultimately the storm's going to pass and you are the steady presence that's going to help them to weather the storm. Transition difficulties exist. There's transition distress in all sorts of contexts. And the great challenge that we've got is working out how we can guide our children, support our children through them. Thank you, Anonymous, for your very tricky question. If you would like to submit your question, you can email us podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. But better yet, leave us a voice note or a voice recording at happyfamilies.com.au. Super simple system. Just scroll down to podcasts, click the record button, start talking. We love hearing from you. We want you on the podcast. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. If you would like more information and more resources to make your family happier, check out happyfamilies.com.au.